Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham. We are happy to be back with you today. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. First things first, I want to kind of give you guys a lead in to something that we're going to be doing here for the next couple of weeks, hopefully the next 4 or 5 weeks, hopefully longer than that, hopefully something that we can revisit over and over again on this podcast, and that is something that's very near and dear to me and Graham. We're going to be doing sort of a sequential series, probably not weekly, but an intermittent type of series about women in baseball. This is a subject that's really been important to me, that's really been sort of brought back to the forefront of my mind repeatedly throughout my life, and also now, especially since I have a 6-year-old daughter who loves baseball, loves the game, and she comes home from school and somebody told her, well, you can't play baseball, you're a girl. And so we're going to do this series about women in baseball, showing female umpires, which we'll have a female umpire on in this show. We'll be on with Jen Powal, who's the only active female umpire in professional baseball. We're going to have some female professional baseball players on in later shows. Hopefully we can get some female broadcasters on who are baseball broadcasters in even later shows. It's something that we really want to discuss. It's something that we really think is important. And it's something that we really think people need to take a look at and see that, hey, being a girl doesn't mean there's nothing in this world that you can do that you can't do just because you're a girl. And that includes professional sports. That includes professional baseball. Graham, I'm glad to be back with you. What's going on your side of the country?
Man, great to be back with you too. And I want to first off thank you for your idea to start this. Let's be honest. This is our show. That's a show that we love to do, and I'm not going to mince words. This was your kind of baby, if you will, that you wanted to talk about. I know you were bothered by what was said to your daughter, and it's one of those things that if it's happening to one, it's happening to many throughout the country and across the world. And we're fortunate to have listeners from the U.S. and other countries as well. I'm really looking forward to this series. As far as over here, man, it's been a crazy couple of work days, but I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So looking like next week we'll be broadcasting, at least on my end, from North Carolina. Going to be up near Charlotte. So should be going to be nice to get out of town for a little bit. But man, we got a huge show. We had the end of both divisional series in the National League, with one of those losses I know being an absolute heartbreaker, and I think in your case the wall breaker. The league championship series, one is already pretty much out of hand, and one could be flipped the other way if it hadn't been for a single pitch. So a lot of stuff to get to. Plus we have the umpiring crew for the World Series is out. One of those umpires retiring. We have a couple of umpire retirements to announce, so plenty to get to, man. So let's go ahead and put the ball in play and get after it. So we left off last week with the tail end of the National League Divisional Series. The AL side was done, pretty quick, and it looked like it was going to be that same way in the championship series. Now, granted, it is Tuesday about 8:30 Eastern time in the evening, so I'm not shouldn't be breaking anybody's hearts to know that the Jays did pull out a 5-1 win in Game 4, so they didn't get the broom brought out. I'm sorry, Pete Rose. So go ahead and put that back with your betting slips, and we'll just go ahead and just keep you on the dais up there as you go ahead and break down the games. But man, we can get into. Let's go ahead and just address the elephant in the room of the homer.
Wow.
We both thought that series was going to go 5 games. We both thought the Cubs were going to win the series. So the outcome of the series is not a surprise. But my God, the way that series ended was one of those that, just rips your heart out, stomps on it, puts it back in your chest, sews it back up, and then punches you in the chest again. I can only imagine as being as diehard of a fan as you were, knowing that Madison Bumgarner Johnny Cueto is sitting on the bench waiting for his time to get on the hill in Game 5 to just watch the bullpen do what unfortunately the bullpen did in the last half of the season post All-Star break, when they went from the best team in baseball to literally the worst team in the game.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. I did say that the Cubs were going to win that series. I thought it was going to go 5, and to be honest with you, in the top of the 9th inning, I still thought it was going to go 5 when the Giants go into the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. You think, hey, this is going to go back to Chicago. We're going to play that Game 5. Unfortunately, you're right. The bullpen came out and did exactly what the Giants bullpen has been doing for the last 2.5 months, and that is give up late leads. More specifically, give up 9th inning leads. That marks the 10th time in the course of this season and postseason that the Giants have given up a lead in the 9th inning and lost the ball game. That is an MLB record for any of you statcasters out there. No other team has ever lost as many 9th inning leads as the 2016 Giants. It's an obvious glaring hole in their game. It's probably the most prolific second half drop-off anyone has ever seen.
Agreed. It's unfortunate. We both. Our original picks were that the Giants were going to run away and hide just as easily as the Cubs were going to in that division, and then the All-Star break happens, and all of a sudden, we saw Giancarlo Stanton kind of get a switch flipped after the All-Star break, and unfortunately, the switch flipped the wrong way for the Giants. And I know we discussed this, and I think if Samardzija had not pitched, I think it was Game 2 that he pitched, it could have been a different story. The Cubs' offense has not looked that good this postseason. We had the grand slam by Miguel Montero, but their offense has not been the same kind of prolific, put a lot of runs across the plate offense that we've seen. And that bullpen in Chicago has been a little sketch at times too, which we will get to. But I went to bed thinking, okay, Game 5, cool, no problem, we're good to go. And then I wake up, I'm like, wait, what happened? I didn't think, I could not believe it. And
I messaged you. I messaged you as it was happening. You'd already gone to bed. I messaged you as it was happening. Yeah. I said, there's no way. There's no way that this bullpen is going to do this to me again.
Yep.
Or, not just me, obviously, to all of the Giants fans, to everybody sitting in those stands that night. That happened in San Francisco. So to watch them kind of fall apart at home like that, that's
at least nobody jumped into McCovey Cove. It could have. It could have been. It could have been bad.
That's the boon of a 162 game season, though, right? This is what happens. You can't hide anything in 162 games. You start off real strong, but if you have a weakness in that long season of baseball, it's going to be exploited. It's going to come out.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Giants, that weakness is, it's a weakness that we've seen, kind of prevalent in baseball this year, and that was pitching, and more so bullpen pitching. Right. And they need to find a way to shore that up. They need, and we said this, very early on, even before the trade deadline, as it was looming, that they needed to address the bullpen. And granted, there were a lot of teams that needed to, and I think that they were winning great. They were so far ahead that you weren't always needing the pen to come in and save games. So by the time that was necessary, it was they were stuck. I mean, so it's rough. I mean, I think that Samardzija was not. I do not think that he was worth what they paid, and I think that he should be trade bait for something in the pen. And we haven't seen a ton of good relievers this year. The top two, you and I both thought that if Aroldis Chapman made it to Chicago, that was going to be it. And Andrew Miller, I apologize for the slight because, I mean, this guy is pitching better than Wade Davis was for the Royals back in 2014 when they had one of the all-time historically great bullpens on their way to unfortunately losing in Game 7 to the Bumgarner performance. So I'll go ahead and mention the Game 7 performance so you don't have to, like you do every show. All right, so let me get it out of the way. But this Indians pen is fantastic. So, yeah, it was rough to see the Giants lose the way that they did, but it really kind of caps off what their season became. And Bochy needs to, that front office needs to find a way to go ahead and fix that issue, because if they don't, they will be contenders who slip away again and again until they can get that fixed. Because we've seen the attrition of those relievers. Brian Wilson, now Sergio Romo, guys who were huge, fell off, man.
Yeah. In our own defense a little bit, first of all, I do agree that Jeff Samardzija needs to be trade bait, and they need to get rid of him for whatever they can get for him. Hopefully it's a decent arm that we can put in the bullpen. Santiago Casilla should probably be shark bait. We can just throw him right into the bay. We just throw him right into the bay. And
why can't we just send him off in the sunset on retirement? Like, do we have to go kind of that dark? I mean, I'm sorry we don't have the production for the Jaws music behind you saying that, but come on now, man.
But the bay is so much closer than retirement. So I agree that they need to make moves in the offseason. They need to really look at the pitching. And if the thing is that Brian Sabean was probably the best general manager the Giants ever had. When he moved up and took control of the entire front office and became the head of baseball operations for the Giants, and they hired another general manager, we start to see these glaring missteps in player appropriation. We start to see these glaring missteps in the holes that are being filled, when they need to be filled, how they need to be filled. Yes, we got a great pitcher in Johnny Cueto in the offseason. We got another great pitcher in Matt Moore at the trade deadline. Unfortunately, they ignored the holes in the bullpen. Now, if you want to know why those holes weren't exploited in the first half of the season, you have to go no further than how their starting pitching was in the first half of the season. We're talking about a starting pitching crew that won games and won them consistently. Jeff Samardzija went 12-1 in the first half of the season, went 0-12 in the 0-10 in the second half of the season, ended up 12-11. We're talking about Johnny Cueto won 13 games in the first half of the season. Madison Bumgarner won 12 games in the first half of the season. We're talking about a starting pitching squad that consistently won games in the first half of the season, and the burden wasn't on the bullpen.
Right. Now, they could go deep into games, give you quality starts, and took a lot of that worry off of Bochy and those arms.
Right. Now, they were winning one-run games, and
right.
They were typical torturous games to watch. But the problem is when you get into a late season, when you get late into the season, and those starting arms start to feel that 82nd, 83rd, 84th game, and they start to get tired, then you have to depend on your bullpen. And when your bullpen is not dependable, you have exactly what you saw in the second half of the season with the Giants.
Right, and the difficulty is there that They went from not really having to be used in a lot of game situations to all of a sudden being used day in, day out extensively. So,
and it's not like we know that Castillo was going to blow games. He blew 4 saves in the first half of the season. We knew it was going to be a big deal.
So I want to ask you
I just want to I do have to defend it with Aroldis Chapman, because we both thought that Aroldis Chapman was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and in our defense, we didn't really look at him much because he played for the Reds for a while. Not really much to look at there. He played for the Yankees for a little while. Yeah, he throws gas. But we never really took the time to look and see, hey, this guy is truly a one-dimensional pitcher. He is an absolutely one-dimensional guy who only throws fastballs, has no movement, has no off-speed, has nothing else. So thinking, hey, the guy can throw 105 miles an hour, we're thinking, yeah, he's probably going to be the greatest closer in the game, not realizing that's all he can do.
Right, and that brings us really into the next topic we were going to go with, and and that is with the pen. And to be fair to your last point, there wasn't much to go out and get this year, unfortunately. Jason Greeley was grabbed, I think, from Pittsburgh and went to Toronto in the pen, and he's been okay in the pen. But the two biggest names really were Chapman and Miller. Betances, you knew they weren't going to get rid of all three. We can look at two teams in one division, the AL East, who had the same issue, the Orioles and the Red Sox. And guess what? As soon as they could be bounced, they were. The O's got eliminated in the wild card game, and the Sox got swept. They had nothing. They never fixed that issue.
Right.
Now let me ask you this before I talk about you're responding about on Chapman and Miller. I know you now have the MLB, I think it's 2K17 game that I've been seeing. So are you going to rewrite history this year? And actually, are we going to see Santiago Casilla just light it up in the save world, or is he going to be your first cut?
He's already not on my team anymore. Zach Britton's actually my closer. Zach Britton's actually my closer on 2K16, actually. It's MLB 2K16. But Zach Britton's actually my closer. And, the show 16, I guess they call it, right? But Zach Britton's my closer. I got rid of Santiago Casilla at my first opportunity. And I actually got rid of Romo as well. Oops! Don't tell.
That's
Romo.
okay. That's okay. Dak Prescott should be the starter anyway. Oh wait, wrong Romo. Sorry, Cowboys fans. That just happened.
Ouch.
So man, I wanted to kind of give good radio and find a way to say, no, man, Chapman's so good. But let's be honest. We've seen Chapman either come close to blowing something or just straight out let it go.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is the guy has he's a one-trick pony. He does one thing. He does it well. I'm not going to say that he doesn't throw hard, because
right.
he owns the number 1, 2, and 3 slot for the hardest thrown pitches ever recorded.
Right.
At 105, I think 105.4 or something like that miles an hour. But the problem is, go back and look at those pitches. None of those pitches are in the strike zone.
Exactly.
The only reason anybody offered at them is because they couldn't see them.
Right. They have to start their swing so early because of the speed. But the difference here, and you're going to hear guys say, "Well, man, come on, Mariano Rivera had one pitch." Yes, but it was a cutter that had movement. That as we've said, Mariano Rivera and the best pitchers in the game have pitches that do the 5 Ds of dodgeball. Right? They dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. Okay, but. And you made this point, a few weeks ago about Dylan Betances, that his best pitch, while he's a hard thrower, is his low curve. And I said the same thing with Strasburg. His best pitch is the changeup. The heat is a great way to set things up, but when all you can throw is heat and you're just challenging guys to catch up. We heard Chip Carey, tell us this quote from Bobby Cox when we had a chance to interview him a few months ago. That Bobby Cox said, anybody can time a jet.
Exactly.
Eventually you're going to get lucky. You have to be able to move the ball around the zone and command the strike zone, which he does not do. Which, if I was an umpire back there, man, I mean, I know that upper 90s hurts. I wouldn't want to get smoked by, by triple digits, which of all people, Kerwin Daly has been smoked by a Strasburg fastball in an area that you really wouldn't want to get smoked by a fastball.
Yeah. And I will say this about Aroldis Chapman. If Aroldis Chapman did three things that I think he's very capable of doing, and I'll get in a second, I'll get into why I think he hasn't done these things. But if Aroldis Chapman did three things, he would probably be the most dangerous closer in baseball. That is, one, not throw 105 miles an hour. Command the ball at 102 or 103, own the strike zone with that heat. That is still incredibly fast.
Right.
Two, develop a cutter or slider. Something hard, something fast that breaks through the strike zone that moves. If he had a fast pitch that he could throw that had movement on it. Now, I'm not asking the guy to develop a curveball. I realize curveballs are not easy pitches to learn, especially late in your life.
Right.
But if the guy could just develop a cut fastball, a two-seam fastball, or a slider, something that had a little bit of movement that tailed a little bit through the strike zone, it would be dangerous. Especially
right.
since
at a changeup, I mean, you can use almost the same grip. You throw a changeup in there that'll just drop down off the table.
Right.
I mean, like we said with Strauss. I mean, Strasburg throws 101, 102. His changeup is 92 freaking miles an hour. That's the average velocity of a lot of guys' fastball. It's a changeup. I mean, that gets 58 feet down the lane and then decides, I'm going to just fall off the table into the dirt.
Yeah, he. I think that if Chapman did those three things, commanded the fastball at 102, 103, threw a breaking ball, a hard breaking ball, and threw an off-speed pitch, I think he could very easily be one of the most dangerous closers in the game. I think that for the way he pitches the ball, a circle change would be perfect for him. It wouldn't change his grip too much. He has those big long fingers.
Yep.
I don't think it's a grip he would have a problem with. But I can honestly tell you that I think the reason he doesn't throw another pitch is because throughout his life, the guy's thrown heat and hard heat. And all along, everybody's told him, hey, you don't need to do anything else to get to the bigs. All you need to do is throw that heater. Focus on that heater. And that's what he's done.
And that's, I mean, even in high school, you hear like, hey man, this guy throws hard. He'll write his own ticket with that, with his fastball. But I agree, and it also depends, where he grew up. A lot of things I wonder how much he was actually being taught, and how much of it was just he had incredible arm speed and he can sling the ball, just a crazy amount. So, that kind of brings us back into, the NLCS, and let's be honest, it's tied 1-1. Game 3 is going on right now with Rich Hill on the mound, which I'm looking at. Gary Segerstrom, the crew chief of last year's World Series, has the dish. Chapman gave up, I think it was 3 runs, right, in I think the 8th inning, the latter part of the game, and the game was, ended up being tied. And this is the beauty, and I know we wanted to discuss this week, and we're not going to be able to, but we will get into why, another reason why you don't like AL baseball. But I mean, the mind games that Dave Roberts and Joe Madden played to, walk. I want to say they walked. It was either Soler or I can't remember who it was. But to bring up Chapman's spot in the order, they put up Montero. They leave Blanton in, and Montero blasts a grand slam. You're not going to see that in American League, DH baseball.
Right.
But had it not been for Montero's jack, and granted Dexter Fowler hit one right after, but Blanton at that point was, I'm sure, shaken. He's a veteran. He's been in for a long time. He won a World Series with Philadelphia. Had Blanton not done that, we could be looking at the Dodgers actually being up 2-0 with the way that Kershaw pitched.
Right. And the end of that game really showcases exactly what we're talking about. Because you think that Aroldis Chapman's going to come in the 8th inning, go 6 outs, record the save, and that's it. You go up 1-0. The problem is that we've seen this before, because the problem that he ran into in San Francisco in Game 3, when they were looking to close out the Giants and they put in Chapman, they thought he could go the distance, that 6 outs, and the Giants, Gillespie hit all over him.
Right.
This is the same thing we find with what the Dodgers did in the 8th inning. And yes, again, in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Cubs were able to rectify that situation, but not because of anything the Cubs did. I mean, yes, Montero had to put the bat on the ball, but Blanton had to hang that pitch.
Right.
And the fact that Blanton did hang that pitch is the only reason why this isn't a 2-0 series, because the Dodgers very easily could have continued that rally and finished that game, a game that at that point, before Chapman came in the 8th inning, the Dodgers only managed to score 1 run in.
Exactly. And I mean, it shows, the difference here as to why Andrew Miller, really ends up being, the better get, because he's been able to go, I mean, I was looking at the stats. He had, I believe that he had faced 20 batters and had struck out 17. He was, I mean, I'm sorry, he had, I think it's what, I mean, it was something he had, his strikeout per 9-inning ratio was 20. I mean, it's nuts. So, I will go ahead, and I'm going to be on the record saying this as we kind of move along. If Joe Madden doesn't find a way to kind of get some offense going with this team and make sure that bullpen stays focused and is doing, I mean, he's great at keeping guys loose, there's a very good possibility the Cleveland Indians could win the World Series. I am not changing my pick and saying that they will, but Terry Francona knows how to manage these guys. Okay, he keeps them loose.
Right.
We saw it last night when Lindor called off Kipnis for a fly ball in the infield, and Kipnis kind of like, hey, that was my ball, starts chasing him, into the dugout, just kind of goofing off. I mean, they stay loose, they have fun. But Terry Francona has outmanaged John Gibbons and John Farrell. I mean, it has been masterful to watch. And that brings us into the American League Championship Series. It is 3-1. This was the first game that they have dropped all postseason. It's fantastic.
The reason I say that, and I know that everybody's like, well, we wanted to sweep. Historically, you don't want the sweep in the championship series going into the World Series. Statistically, as far as history goes, that is not what you want, because historically, as teams move through the championship series and sweep through the championship series, in the current postseason format, that has happened 7 times, where a team has swept their way into the World Series through the championship series, and those teams are 1-6 in the World Series.
It's one of those. I mean, you want to see these guys face a little bit of adversity, and clearly, I mean, and they did down the stretch. I mean, you and I kept talking about the possibility, man, of a Tigers going to overtake them, and they held together, and I mean, and they're a very solid group, and I mean, I think they're going to be contenders for a while, because Andrew Miller, I believe, still has a couple of years on that contract, so he's not going anywhere, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, it's going to be amazing. The pitching has been great. It really hasn't been an offensive runaway. But let's be honest, from the American League Divisional Series against the Rangers to now against the Indians, the Blue Jays have kind of done, pardon the pun, but a San Francisco Giants move. I mean, they went from being an offensive, juggernaut in that divisional series to nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, John Gibbons now has Joey Bats leading off, just trying to move something around to get something going on. And even when the starter for the Indians, Trevor Bauer, comes out after facing two batters or getting two batters out because of the blood just filling up, dripping all the way down onto the pitching rubber. I mean, they still couldn't get to him. So,
right.
I mean, dude, I can't believe just how quiet the bats have gotten north of the border.
Yeah, and it's obviously at the worst time possible. They did make it up a little bit today. They were able to put the bat on the ball. They were able to put the ball in play. They were able to score runs. They did beat the Cleveland Indians 5-1 today, but through the rest of this series coming into this game, it's been hard to watch.
Yeah.
And to see Jose Bautista go from where he was coming into this season, where he was pretty legitimately, I won't say completely legitimately, but pretty legitimately saying this was going to be the season he proved again that he deserves that big money contract,
right,
to where he is now. It's been hard to watch because he hasn't been that guy. He hasn't been the guy that's going to get that contract. And Blue Jays fans, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, hell, you're going to say, well, he got punched in the mouth. Maybe that threw him off a little bit. And if it makes you feel any better, I feel like Bryce Harper did exactly the same thing. He came into the season with an opportunity to show that he deserved the biggest contract in baseball, and he didn't do it.
Right.
He didn't do it in the regular season. He didn't do it in the postseason. So don't hate me too much.
And there's a decade age gap between Harper and Bautista, but Bautista still thinks that he's worth this, $80 million contract over 4 years. Like, man,
right.
No way. He's averaging 230, maybe 240. He blames every bad thing on umpires instead of just kind of owning it. He never thinks he took a bad pitch. Like, man, come on now.
Yeah, I think Joey Bats is probably closer to the end of his career than he'd like to admit. I don't know that he has 4 years of quality baseball left in him. At least not 4 years that's going to get him, $20 million a year for sure.
Yeah. I could see maybe a 2-3 year deal with a club option for the first year.
Yeah, maybe. I think that realistically, unless he can bounce back to the Jose Bautista of 2 and 3 seasons ago, I think there's not a club out there that's going to want to give him maybe more than a year. It'll be a year-to-year thing with him, and it's not going to be anywhere, probably even into double digits, and not that kind of money. He's just not worth it. He doesn't command that sort of salary. In my opinion, and I'm just a hack baseball analyst, but
True.
Watching the game, watching him play, beyond just his ability, which, like you said, he averages 230, 240. He hits the ball hard, and he can hit the ball a long way, but he doesn't do it enough to really impact a team. And let's not forget that he has one of the worst attitudes in baseball.
Right, yeah.
The guy is a cancer in the locker room, and there aren't going to be teams that want to sign on to have the rest of their guys poisoned like that if it's not going to lead to them having an opportunity to play for a championship. And he doesn't provide that opportunity, in my opinion.
I agree. And like you said, I don't think he's going to be much of a clubhouse, desire or whatnot. So, yeah, I'm very much with you. So, It's going to be interesting.
Right? I mean, Joe Boo is doing Joe Boo's job right now.
So as we kind of get ready to move along, and I want to get the audience prepared for what's coming up next, which is an interview with an inspiration for it should be for everybody, especially if you have a daughter, a niece, any young girls that that are, not just that want to be part of baseball, but just think that there are things that they can't do. We're going to have Jen Powal on, and again, a thank you to the founder and president, of American Sports Officials, Scooter Morrison, for helping, get her on. He had a chance. He's a veteran umpire, worked all levels up to, I've seen him work big boys, Major League Spring Training. We both have worked some of the extended spring stuff. He's a fill-in down here for the Gulf Coast League and the Florida State League, and was able to get me in touch with her, and she was willing to come on the show. So we are very excited to have her on. But the crew for the World Series was announced, and it is as follows. You'll have John Hirschbeck is the crew chief, who announced his retirement this year after over 30 years of Major League Baseball service. John was the umpire that was behind the plate for the game that the Marlins played against the Mets after Jose Fernandez passed. He and Don Mattingly have had a good relationship for years, a great story. John Hirschbeck's two sons passed away due to not a defect, but a genetic disorder, and had been through a lot of difficult things, and of all things, for him to be the umpire for that, did a fantastic job. Joe West will be getting, I believe, his 6th World Series. Larry Vanover, Sam Holbrook will go in there, and then Marvin Hudson, Tony Randazzo, and Chris Guccione. Those last 3, if I remember correctly, Marvin Hudson, Tony Randazzo, and Chris Guccione are getting their 1st World Series. So congratulations to those guys. We also saw Quinn Walcott get his first postseason assignment this year in the divisional series. Quinn, it was again, congratulations to you. Look forward to seeing you in the playoffs more, and hopefully getting your World Series ring, which, yes, umpires do get World Series rings. So, and another umpire has retired, Chris, and one that we discussed earlier this year. Has one of the probably one of the most sometimes vilified umpires, but old school at best to say, is Bob Davidson. Announced his retirement as well. An interesting fact about him: when the umpire strike happened, he submitted his resignation, and while some umpires were hired back automatically, some were not hired back, like Jim Evans. There is still a disparity between a lot of guys, a lot of umpires now who were called up because of the strike and got their jobs because of it, and then never lost them. There was a lot of stories of animosity between guys who had been pre-strike and were hired back, and guys that almost like they had crossed the picket line, if you will. But Bob Davidson was hired back in minor league ball and had to work his way back to the bigs, and he did, which is a testament to him. So a couple of great umpires, love him or hate him. They've been around for a long time. Bob Davidson, a character who didn't mind getting in the face of a manager. There's great YouTube videos of him going nose to nose with Charlie Manuel. So Madden, he tossed the fan out this year. Tossed fans out before for heckling and saying crude things. One of those that you may not always like him, but at least you respect him. Having the players be treated fairly. And John Hirschbeck getting to for an umpire, go out in the sunset. He gets a chance to be the crew chief of the World Series, and then once the World Series ends, his career will he'll put the final punctuation mark on the end of a very, very long career.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And that's also going to kind of lead into something else we're going to talk about that we've been talking about as long as we've been doing this show, that we've been talking about, that we're going to talk about with Jen as well, to kind of get her view on it. But, you know, we're going to discuss umpire gear. We're going to discuss umpire specifically, who provides uniforms to minor league baseball umpires. And we're going to get into all those things in just a few minutes when we come back right here on Out of Left Field.
Hey guys, Graham here from Out of Left Field. I know you've heard us talk about the gruelingtruth.net. We're so proud to be a part of the Grueling Truth family. If you're a football fan, a sports fan, a boxing fan, any kind of sports you like, even some things that aren't sports, check out the gruelingtruth.net. Like Canadian football, Rouge, White, and Blue, the CFL show on the Grueling Truth, gives you everything you need to know about what's happening north of the border, plus tons of college football power rankings from every top 5 conference or Power 5 conference, plus the Bengals, the Steelers. We've got Mac and Mac's College Football Weekly show, tons of interviews with former football players, Hall of Famers, everything you could look at. Check them out, thegruelingtruth.net, at Grueling Truth on Twitter, or The Grueling Truth on Facebook. Thegruelingtruth.net, where legends speak, and so do the guys from Out of Left Field. Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Left Field. Thanks for sticking with us after the first half of the show. Really excited for this second portion. As Chris explained to you at the beginning of the show, we are starting a series, not going to necessarily be weekly, but it's going to be a 4 or 5 installment series about women in baseball. Obviously, the new show is out on Fox called Pitch. So we wanted to kind of take a look at the way that the climate of sports and baseball is changing and what it's like for women that are getting involved in baseball. Everyone knows that I'm the umpire guy here. Chris is thinking about coming into it. So without any further ado, we are very, very honored to have Jen Powal with us today. She is the only, if I have done my research correctly, the only female umpire in professional baseball right now. She was, I believe it was in the Gulf Coast League this year. That's rookie ball, if I remember correctly. And she was gracious enough to take some time out and join us. Jen, how are you doing today?
Graham, I'm doing great. Chris, thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. We really appreciate you jumping in.
Come on with us.
So, obviously, Jen, you know, we have a mutual friend in this, in Scooter Morrison, who is, among other things, the president of American Sports Officials here in Florida, whom I work for. A ton of great officials. I mean, we do football, we do baseball, we do just about, if you're looking for it, we can find a way to do it. So something to take a look at. You can find them on Facebook at American Sports Officials. Also take a look at our page, Out of Left Field, hosted by Graham and Chris on Facebook. So, Jen, you and I both actually last year went to the MLB umpire camps. I went to the one down in Miami. I know you went to a different site, and that's pretty much where, not where you got the bug, but that's where everything kind of got picked up. So if you can, kind of take us from what got you into umpiring to all of a sudden, you're at one of the camps, and then, a couple months later, you're going to I think it was Fort Myers for the week-long clinic, and all of a sudden you wind up in school.
That's right. I started umpiring about 10 years ago, baseball and softball. The summer after I finished playing as a player, as a catcher, and I didn't want to go into coaching, so I thought umpiring was the next best thing after playing, and because you never have to leave the field. I'm always on the field as the umpire, and having been a catcher, it just seemed real natural to start calling balls and strikes, and I wasn't scared of the ball coming in. And the chapter I got involved in is the Endicott Umpires Chapter in upstate New York, and pretty much you can do both sports and work a lot of games. And I did that for about 4 years, and then My 5th year, I actually came down to Florida. I actually quit my teaching job and decided that I wanted to be a year-round professional umpire, and that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I knew I was going to go to Florida and work a lot of games and try to get as high up as I could at, however it took me. And I ended up working in the Big Ten for women's fast pitch softball. I was hired by a couple dozen Division I conferences and was very prolific and traveled all over. And then I was at a camp and was seen by Ted Barrett, and he suggested that I looked pretty serious at what I was doing, and that if I wanted to try out for professional baseball, that might be something I might want to look into. And he told me about the free clinics that Major League Baseball umpire camps offers, and I attended the one in Cincinnati in August 2015 and went in front of all the Major League evaluators that are his boss, and they invited me to attend the Fort Myers Mini Pro Camp to compete for a scholarship for umpire school, and it was everything I wanted. It was just the most amazing experiences and learning, and I was just so thankful to have someone mention it to me, because I wouldn't have thought of it myself for professional baseball.
And Teddy Barrett definitely is not one to to mince words. I mean, as a former, he was an amateur boxer. I believe he was Evander Holyfield's sparring partner, which I know that probably raises Chris's eyebrows a little bit. I mean, he was no joke, and one of the most respected umpires in the game.
Right.
So
He's got more guts than I do. I wouldn't get in the ring with Evander Holyfield.
Now we have 2 schools in Florida. We have the Wendelstadt School, and then the I believe now it's the minor league baseball umpire training academy down in Vero Beach. We're hoping to have Hunter on here pretty soon. So, Jen, did you go to Hunter's or Harry's school up in Ormond, or did you go to the umpire academy down in Vero?
It wasn't by choice. I was selected to go to the umpire training academy in Vero Beach.
Okay.
We didn't really the candidates didn't really have a choice. They just told you where you were going.
So
yeah.
I mean, we're actually, Chris and I both, I mean, obviously I've been umpiring for close to a decade now. I mean, going to school is kind of the one thing that I'm just kind of, sitting here jonesing for. So, I mean, what was your experience like at school? It's about it's a 4 or 5 week course. It basically just fills your head with, all the entire rule book and then as much practical application as you can get. So, what was it like being in school for 5-6 days a week? I mean, just constantly going over drills and terminology and the book and all that kind of stuff.
It was just the most awesome experience of my life, and I really absolutely mean that. It was life-changing for me. I felt like the staff was, just pulling out, the environment was just pulling out my potential as fast as I could, as fast as I could develop and keep the pace of the curriculum and all the work. I mean, I loved the drills. I loved the running. I loved the plate mechanics. I loved the classroom, the tests. I mean, I was just like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, somebody to show me how to do everything. And they were just, the students, the other, my peer students, we were, helping one another and cheering each other on, and it didn't matter if you were, one of the better umpires or one of the lower umpires. Like some people had a hard time doing the running. Some people had a hard time. You were going to struggle at umpire school at something every day. You don't just go in there, and it's not easy for anybody, but people didn't judge anybody, and you just wanted to be a helper and be supportive and, get through all the drills together. And, we hung out in the cafeteria and kept talking umpiring, and it was just the most amazing time of my life, and again, it was life changing for me. So.
Right. That sounds like an amazing experience. What was your favorite part of umpire school?
Being called to and offered a position in minor league baseball.
Oh yeah, well I can see how that might be the best part, right?
Yeah.
No, I can only imagine that's an amazing experience. Like Graham said, I'm a player, and I played quite a bit, and I'm only now recently starting to get interested in officiating, and it's something I've been looking into pretty heavily. Graham's been doing it for quite a while, and I mean I can only imagine how amazing that whole experience is, going to the school, getting that experience. What's been your best experience as an umpire in the rookie league down there, in the Gulf Coast League?
Best experience in the rookie league. Okay. I would have to say the camaraderie with the other minor league umpires.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have each other's back, and we are constantly laughing. We are constantly, making sure one another is okay. And because you're living on the road, I mean, you're away for 9 weeks. I would say that if people were kind of sour, so to speak, it would make it a very long summer, miserable summer. But my close friends now that I had the opportunity and privilege to work with, from all different, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, United States, they're just the best guys, and it's just a privilege and so much fun to work with them and be back at the hotel and go out to dinner and basically live together.
Yeah, and Florida summers can be absolutely brutal, as I have gotten to enjoy for the majority of my life. So I'm curious, and this is in no way a negative thought on minor league baseball or managers or anything, but I'm curious, what was your expectation going into your first season dealing with, a lot of these managers played at one point and now are trying to work their way up through, their team's farm system. What was your expectation going into it as to how you would kind of be received? And on the flip side, what actually happened? What was it like on the field dealing with coaches, dealing with players day in and day out?
Okay, that's a great question. I went in, my goal going into this was to not give anybody any doubt. So when I make my calls, when I'm on the field, I went in bringing the highest level of professionalism I could with me. I went in with the highest level of athleticism that I could bring in with me, and I went in with my personality, and I really wanted to be able to work with everybody and make people feel comfortable, because I'm used to working with men all the time, and especially in officiating. I mean, whether you go to soccer or football or basketball or even softball, it's mostly men. So for me, I'm used to working with alpha males in sports, in officiating and on the field. But and I wanted to make sure that they knew I was hustling. They knew I was getting my calls right. That I wasn't giving them anything to feel shaken about, or just knowing that extra attention or extra eyes were going to be on me because of my gender. I wanted that challenge. I really liked it, and I'm very comfortable with it. So I just wanted people to just, without a doubt, know that I could umpire, and that, we're all at the rookie level because we're rookies, and we belong there because we're new, and we have to work our way up the ladder if we are able to, ability-wise and job positions and all that kind of stuff. So I felt that the coaches, they give you all a hard time at the, because they don't know you, but they give everybody a hard time equally, and you got to show them that you're hustling, you want to be there, and that you love it, and that you take it seriously, and you come out hard the next day, and you get better every day. So it was fun. It was fun. I mean, it was hard work, but you gotta, to do that kind of job to umpire, you have to love it, or else it's miserable. So I know I'm doing the right thing, and I really enjoyed working with the guys this summer.
Well, I mean, as I think we all pretty much know, if you love the job you're doing, you never work a day in your life, and officiating definitely is something that it gives you an entirely different perspective on the game, which I always try and tell our listeners that if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. You will feel very overwhelmed. I mean, I can remember the first game I ever did was a Little League game. I'm thinking I'm never going to get this right, but it's just a passion. It kind of grows on you. You guys, we're here with Jen Powal, minor league baseball umpire in the Gulf Coast League this year, hoping for a promotion into an A, hopefully an advanced A or a low A, coming into this upcoming 2017 season. Really happy to have her here. A big thank you to American Sports Officials President Scooter Morrison for helping us get her on here. Myra, you can follow us on Twitter at OO Left Field, and also on Facebook, Out of Left Field, hosted by Graham and Chris. Chris, I know that obviously as we were talking, we discussed at the beginning of the show, also off air, that Peyton, who is your youngest daughter, is kind of getting different ideas of what she can and can't do because she's a girl. I mean, and obviously, you can make it to the major leagues. We've seen several umpires, Bob Davidson, John Hirschbeck, retiring this year. John Hirschbeck actually going to be the crew chief of his final World Series this year, just was announced yesterday. So I know you kind of, and I want to give you this question, for your daughter to hear, but kind of just, it's obvious that women can be in professional sports. I mean, Jen's proving it. We have other women we're going to have on that can prove it. So I want to kind of give you the floor to as much talk to Jen as you are talking to your daughter.
Sure. Jen, I guess what I really would like to know is what would you say to other women or other young women who have considered either umpiring or playing the game at a professional level and think it's either not possible or have been told it's not possible? What would you say to them if you could just have the floor to talk to them for 5 minutes or so?
All right, that's a great question. I would say, what are you waiting for? Get motivated, get in the weight room, get educated, get training, and go after your dreams. Because you only have one shot. And then, you either make it or you don't, and then you have to think of a new dream and then go after that dream. So I would say if you love the game of baseball or as a player or as an umpire, what are you waiting for? This is the time is now. It's a level playing field as far as the tryout process. It's all cut and dry. You take your test, you answer the questions, you get them wrong or right. You're either run in the right direction or you're running in the wrong direction as far as the umpire mechanic. And so it's a pretty black and white umpire tryout experience. And as far as playing, I mean, you can either throw 95 miles an hour as a pitcher or you can't. I mean, it's very cut and dry. So if you have that God-given ability and you get educated, you get a good trainer or you get training and get motivated and get excited and go after it, I mean, now's the time. Like, stop, keep thinking about it, do it. Go after it.
And I know something that we had said off air, and I know your thoughts on this, so I want to present this in a way that is not accusatory or aggressive at Major League Baseball, but there is I think a widespread idea that people think that, man, it's just really not fair. Girls aren't going to ever have that same opportunity, to get in there. They're always going to kind of be, it's never going to be even. And it really sounds like that from your experience that's not the case at all, that Major League Baseball is very fair across the board of, if you have the talent, then we have a place for you to try and hone that skill that you have and have a chance to make it all the way to the show on either side of the ball, either as an umpire or as a player. Is that really what you have seen? I mean, I want a lot of those concerns, those thoughts to be put to rest based on really the experience that you've had, that from my understanding is vastly different from kind of what the popular opinion may be of how baseball handles women in the sport.
Yeah, I can't even express enough how enthusiastic the umpire staff is, for the umpire camp that we had gone through. They're, and again, it's you either can do the running and answer the questions, and it's very cut and dry. So it was so supportive. I went to umpire school, and there were people from all different countries, and they were speaking all different languages. They still had to take their tests in English. They still had to be able to write English and read English. So, I still had to answer all my questions. I had to be a good person, right? It didn't matter what color anybody was, what shape they were, anything like that. It's been, and even in the rookie level, it's all about, do you have a work ethic, and can you day in and day out do the job? And it is really, really hard. It is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the best thing I've ever done. It's exactly who I am, and I kept telling myself the whole time I went through this, if I ever felt at any time that I was forcing something, then I was going to stop. And learning how to, when you're getting training and you're learning the ropes, that's not what I'm talking about, getting the hang of it. I mean, is this supposed to happen or not? Am I trying to make myself do something that I'm not meant to do? And I can relate that. I umpire football. I officiate football also in the off season, and I am only going to be a freshman JV level football official.
Right.
I just can't do any more football than that. I mean, I don't have the brain for it. All right, and I'm just trying to relate it to officials here that are listening, or young people. I kind of knew my limit, and I said, this I can't do. But with baseball, I can do it. I think I can do it, and that's important. And again, it's very current. Baseball is absolutely wide open. If you have the ability, come on in. It's equally hard for everybody to go out there day in and day out and be good. And I had another thought that I don't want to lose. I think I lost it.
Hey, if you get to come back, no worries there. And it's, yeah. I mean, as a football official as well, I know it's so different. There's so much more verbal communication in football than there is in baseball, but it's almost easier to, it's almost harder to compartmentalize in football, in each different spot, whereas baseball, you kind of know your rotations, and, the ball is basically what you follow at all times.
Oh, this was it. Right, and I think from my personal experience this past year, directly involved in the professional umpire development, minor league baseball, selections, school, all of it, without a doubt, the popular opinion is what is outdated. It is not at all professional baseball. Those men are the best men I have ever met in my life at all levels, even the managers, the players, the umpires, the staff. These people are diamonds, and they know how to treat one another, and I felt that it was a very diverse experience, and it was awesome.
To add to your point a little bit, Jen, one of the things that I was reading that was written April of this year is a quote from Jim Evans, who is a pretty storied umpire in his own right, umpired Major League Baseball from 1971 to 1999, founded the Jim Evans Academy of Professional Umpiring. And what he had to say about this subject in particular, when he was asked how he felt about the fact that even as recently as April, that there were almost no women in professional umpire schools, and even that there were very few applicants, what he thought about that, he said that he's disenchanted and disgusted that more women don't apply. I don't know if it's because they think they can, if they have families or careers or what, but not many make the commitment to a professional school. And I can only read from that quote that he thinks that this is something that is really rests in the court of the women who should apply, not so much that they can't apply. Which really goes into what you were saying, that it's not Major League Baseball, it's not the umpiring schools, it's people thinking they can't do it, or people not being sure if it's something that they can do.
And if I met Jim over the winter at umpire school, I was so excited to meet him. He said things along those lines at umpire school. He was an absolute just gem. I was so excited to meet him. I was so excited to, know that he wants to see women come along and get motivated and get out there and give it a try. And in the back of my head, I don't know a lot of people that want to get hit on a daily basis by a 95-mile-an-hour baseball.
Right.
I mean, that's like a real deal breaker for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a deal breaker for
deal
me.
Breaker. Yeah. So, so that's just something, male or female. Do I really want to get hit every day by this?
Right.
It may not be what I want to do. So.
Well, along those lines, which is a great transition to my next question.
Okay.
Graham being an umpire, and I myself being, someone who loves baseball, and obviously I don't want to see anyone get hurt ever, especially not umpires, especially not catchers. I know that we've on several occasions on this show discussed umpire gear, specifically stuff that comes from Umpire, who I know supplies the gear and the uniforms for minor league umpires. But we discuss, what the newest gear is, what the safest gear is. So when you're behind the dish, what are you wearing right now? What make and model mask and protector are you wearing?
Oh, okay. We'll just go like head to toe. How's that?
Sure.
I'm using a steel. It's the same steel Wilson. It's a low profile mask.
Mm-hmm.
I update my pads. I just switched from the wraparound Wilson pad to the ones that are like the memory foam kind, because some of the guys were using that, so I thought I'd give that a try at the end of the season. I do have a throat guard that hangs also.
Okay.
Attached to my mask. I use the Wilson West Vest. I wear the Nutty Buddy. I wear a jock strap with it, the one that it came with. And I we are all required, doesn't matter male or female, we are required to wear a protective cup. And I can tell you that I have been hit right on the button there, and it did work. Fantastic. And I'm very happy about that product. So I have the Pro Platinum Wilson shin guards that I use, and those are, I felt, were absolutely worth the money. I was hit dozens of times in the shin guards directly on the kneecap, and I didn't even feel it.
Now, Jen, those are the black shin guards or the gray ones for our listeners? Are those the triple knee or the double knee that you're using?
They're triple knee and they're gray.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And again, those are 90 mile an hour. We saw every time we went behind the dish, it was 92 miles an hour. Yep. Nobody was throwing in under 90. Their fastball. Yeah. I don't know how they got those guys doing that, but they do. And then I have Reebok plate shoes, but I just switched to 3 and 2 plate. I like sneakers for the plate shoe, so they're really plate sneakers. And so I finished the season with the 3 and 2 plate sneakers.
Okay, so you like the. Okay. So you're one. We had some people the other night talking about that, about people surprised that they only use one bag over 2. I prefer 2. I don't tend to fill mine up quite as much. I'm curious as to, and I've had this discussion with Jim Kirk, who's the CEO of Umpire, and Scott Kennedy, and even Scooter, who also sells for Forestry. Guys, if you ever are looking for a mask, something that is going to keep you very safe behind the plate, if you're worried about concussions, get a hold of us. You can get a hold of me on email, ooleftfield@gmail.com. You can message us on Facebook, Out of Left Field, hosted by Graham and Chris, or tweet me at ooleftfield. I can get you in touch with Scooter. Forestry is a great mask. I actually was fortunate enough to win one in a raffle yesterday. But have you tried the Forestry? What's your takeaway? We're starting to see it take over a little bit. We got about a half dozen catchers that are using it now. I believe Mike Winters is using it now behind the plate in Major League Baseball. Have you tried it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have seen that mask. I was actually interested in purchasing it for next season, for my next go-around, when I update my equipment, for spring training. So I think it looks pretty innovative enough as far as protecting, like giving another sort of spring, the one with the springs is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, basically the frame fits almost completely over the pads, and it has the compression on it. I mean, it's fantastic for how well it actually protects.
Yeah, I'm very interested in it. It looks like a good product. I don't know. And there was a couple guys that had it in the minors too, and they were wearing it and they liked it. So
I know some say it's a little bit heavier. It's about a pound or two, about a pound heavier than than like the Wilson titanium, or even the Wilson steels. But it's a little bit of a different feel, I would say. But as far as your vision, it's actually I almost find it better because that cage, the way it floats, kind of gives you a little bit clearer of a point of view. But Jen, I want to thank you so much for joining us here, guys. This has been Jen Powal, minor league baseball umpire. For those of you who are thinking of getting into umpiring and you want to look at the schools, yes, the schools can be expensive. There's 2 really, really good ones down here in Florida. They go from about the first week of January until roughly the first or second week of February. Well worth the money. And guys, ladies, if you're young daughters, whatever, if you are interested in umpiring, talk to your local little leagues. Yes, I get that sometimes the parents, the fans can be the worst, but it can also be one of the best things I've had a chance to do. And check out MLB umpire camps. You can find it on Twitter at MLB ump camps. You can find them on Facebook as well. They do roughly about 7 or 8 a year at multiple big league ballparks. If you get a chance, guys, go check it out. It's, you know, you don't have to wear umpiring clothes, wear shorts and whatever. You'll get some chance to see pitches from a pitching machine. Guys will let you borrow their equipment. It's well worth it.
And Jen, you know, I wanted to say right before we finish up here that a lot of people that I've talked to in a lot of different fields who were sort of blazing trails in that field tell me, I didn't go into this trying to be an inspiration to anybody. I didn't go into this to make a difference. I went into this because it's something that I love, something I really want to do. And I understand that mentality, but I want to let you know that you are actually inspiring young women. You are actually an inspiration to young women. And to me as well, because as a father of two daughters, to be able to show them, to be able to point out someone like you and say, look, if you work hard, you can get there. So I want to thank you for that, and I really want to thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much. That means the world to me. It's a privilege to be experiencing all of this, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to even do the interview, and appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the field sometime, right?
Definitely.
I hope so.
All right.
Yeah, the pleasure was ours. I hope that you know, if you're in the Florida State League or one of the leagues down here again, hopefully, you know, we'll have a chance to actually meet up, and we'll be following your career, and hopefully we can have you on again. So,
for sure.
Again, from us here to you, thank you so much. Guys, it's been another episode here of Out of Left Field. Remember, there is nothing, young ladies, young men, that you guys cannot do. If you have a dream, if you have something that you want to do, push for it. Only person that can stop you is you. So, guys, just remember, you never know in baseball what the next crazy thing could be. You just might go to a ballpark and see a female umpire walking to the plate coming straight out of left field. We'll see you next week.